Welcome to Lair the Alchemist, where we discuss all things heavy metal and hard rock. On today's episode, 4 non-Big Four thrash albums that I really like. These are albums outside of the Big Four being Metallica, Anthrax, Slayer, and Megadeth. I would also include the German 3, Creator, Sodom, Destruction. Not that I don't like those bands, I really do like those bands. I just thought it would be fun to highlight some albums outside of, shall we say, the big 7 of thrash. All right, now I don't claim to be the biggest, most knowledgeable thrash metal person. I get in the mood for it at times, but it's something that I don't know a whole lot about. We'll have to reference hopefully our friend Ruthless Metal. Maybe he can drop in here. I know he's a big thrash metal guy. He does a lot of thrash stuff on his channel. He's much more knowledgeable about thrash than I am, but I do really like it, and when I'm in the mood for it, it's something that I have a lot of fun with, and I've been in the mood for some thrash lately, so I thought it would be fun to show some of the albums that I've been listening to. Okay, first we got here from 1988, Forbidden Evil. This is their debut album, and it features Paul Bostaph on drums. I had a chance to see them on one of the 70,000 Tons of Metal cruises, and it was really cool. This is a cool album. It's pretty aggressive. My only complaint might be the mix is the guitars are a little bit bright and harsh. I wish it was a little bit warmer, maybe a little bit low end on the recording. The vocals are pretty good. This is probably my least favorite out of the 4 that I picked. There's not quite enough variety in the vocals for me. I like when there's some variety and stuff going on. It's a kind of shouty at times, and that's not like my favorite vocal style, but it's still pretty cool. Some of the tracks I really like on this are Chalice of Blood. That was awesome, really aggressive. Awesome song title also. Through Eyes of Glass is really cool, and I like that one because I think there's a little bit of variety in the vocals, a little bit more melody. And the title track, Forbidden Evil, is really, really cool. All right, next I picked Death Angel Act 3. Forbidden and Death Angel, both California bands. This would be the last album from them for I think 13 or 14 years. This was produced by Max Norman, who produced a bunch of the early Ozzy albums, so this is very well produced. There's a lot of variety on this album, sometimes for the better, sometimes for the worse. You know, there's some good vocals on here, some vocal harmonies, but it also sometimes veers into like some funky type things, and I never liked that. I mean, I'm a big, actually, 70s funk fan, but I don't like my funk mixed with metal. It just never really works for me in any context, and so when they go into that here, it's just, that's not my favorite part of the record. But again, this is a really well-produced record with a lot of melody on it. You know, the vocals are pretty clean for the most part. So there's a lot of hooks and little things here. I like the first song, Stop. That has some really nice riffs and changes in it, and this is a great example of the hook in that song. I think is really, really cool and kind of draws you in. Veil of Deception is one I like. It's got some nice acoustic parts in it, melodic parts. There's some vocal harmonies in it, like I mentioned, that you see kind of here and there on this album. The Organization is one that I dig. It's got a lot of gear changes, and you've heard me probably say this before. I love gear changes where a riff is going, and then all of a sudden it shifts gears, and either it goes really slow or it jumps up and goes really fast. I always think that that's really cool. And A Room with a View, that's a really nice one. I think they had a video for that one, a very melodic one. It's got some nice melodic, like acoustic parts and nice melody parts to it. So maybe for some people this might be a little too melodic and not aggressive and thrashy enough, but as a guy that's more of a traditional metal guy, I'm able to relate to this album pretty well. If they just took out the funk stuff, I think I would like the album a lot better, like the song Discontinued. Do not care for that song. All right, next, Dark Angel, Darkness Descends. I always thought this was an awesome album cover. This is 1986. This is their second album. This would feature Gene Hoglan on drums. He would go on to play with a ton of other bands, Death, I think he was with Testament, for a little while. I think he played with Devin Townsend. I mean, he's just played with a million bands. He's like one of the top like thrash metal drummers out there, along with you know, Dave Lombardo, and he's I think his nickname is the Atomic Clock. He's so precise. Fear Factory. He's played with Fear Factory, I believe. This one I like because it's kind of lo-fi. The mix is a little rough. It's the darkest out of the 4 albums that I picked here, so that appeals to me. It's almost bordering on death metal at times. You can hear how this is the point where thrash metal, even though this is 86, it's really starting to push the more extreme side and starting to head towards death metal, you know, Possessed, Seven Churches, that type of sound, moving in that kind of direction. So it has a real dark vibe to it, very almost like early Slayer, you know, Show No Mercy, Haunting the Chapel. So if you like that kind of early Slayer sound, I think you would dig this. I like the title track, Darkness Descends. Hunger of the Undead is really cool. Again, that has a really old school Slayer vibe to it. And Perish in Flames is a cool over-the-top number. All right, my last choice here is Flotsam and Jetsam, Doomsday for the Deceiver. This is their debut album from 1986. Flotsam and Jetsam, famous for having Jason Newsted as their bass player on this record. And Jason Newsted will, of course, go on to play with Metallica. His bass playing is actually great all over this record. There's a song on here, Metal Shock, which just has some fantastic playing in it. It's kind of a long song, cool, like sort of epic, picked like guitar intro thing, and he's just all over that song on the bass, and it really makes you wonder if they had let Jason Newsted be himself on And Justice for All, the album would have been so much better, in my opinion. That's a topic for another video, though. But on this, Jason's kind of all over this record. From what I understand, he was involved in the writing a lot for it. And it's a cool kind of old school thrash album. It sounds like a San Francisco album, although they're not from San Francisco. They're from, I think, Arizona. But it's a cool record, produced pretty well. The vocals are, you know, the vocals are good. They're aggressive, but still have some melody to them. Hammerhead is probably the song from this record, a song I just saw them live, actually, like about 3 or 4 years ago. And that was sort of like the big number of the night. Hammerhead's a really great old school thrash type number. The title track, Doomsday for the Deceiver, is probably my favorite song on here. It's very melodic. It's got this like almost like classical intro to it. It's kind of a long, epic song. And also I mentioned Metal Shock. That's another one that's long and epic and has a lot of cool stuff in it. So a lot of cool bass playing on this and a lot of cool playing in general. Okay, so there you go. There's 4 thrash albums that I dig, that I've been listening to lately from outside of the big 4 plus 3. So let me know some thrash albums that you really like that are outside of the big 7. All right, let me know in the comments down below. And until we see you again, make sure you stay heavy, stay metal.